Okay, so this is part two of this discussion on the Pax Romana. So this is AIM 5.5B. So when you put it in your notes, make sure you make a note of, the B there. This is the second part. So what were the different achievements of Rome that took place during the Pax Romana? And we just went over all of the do now responses, namely, trade and road. Someone mentioned road system, and also kind of just stable political leadership at the top is what allowed them to become very stable and wealthy. So on we go. All right, I'll give you a second here. Okay, so just to recap, the Pax Romana is the time period during which all of the things that we associate with Rome, most of those things come about during this time period, the Pax Romana. So this is a time period of a lot of significant achievements, accomplishments, etc. So you see a dramatic increase in art and architecture. So poetry, and then you start seeing things like the Colosseum and all those kinds of elements of architecture. This is the time when the aqueducts are built, to a large extent. And the elephant in the room here is kind of Christianity. So we said that the Pax Romana kind of straddles the birth of Christ. It starts, a little before the birth of Christ, and the Pax Romana stretches to a time period after the birth of Christ. So Christianity is starting to become a thing during the time of the Pax Romana. Jesus Christ died when he was 33, allegedly. So it wasn't during his lifetime that Christianity became a worldwide religion, but several years, decades, centuries, etc., after his death is when Christianity really starts to spread throughout the empire and become a significant factor. So at first, Christianity is seen as a threat by the Roman government. And this is typical of a lot of absolute governments. Many absolutist governments, at least in modern history, tend to kind of discourage religion. And the reason for that is because if there is significant religious belief, that means that there is competition for the loyalty of the people. Okay? Without religion and only having government, the people have no choice but to remain loyal to their government. But once a popular religion becomes a factor, the loyalty of the people is now split between their government and their religion. And what happens when those two entities, government and religion, are sending very different messages? That becomes a problem. There's a lot of people who would choose to obey their God long before they obey their ruler. And that is a problem for these rulers. These rulers see this religion, and Christianity in particular, as a threat to their authority. So at first, the Roman government is going to go to great lengths to try to stifle and kind of shut down and subdue Christianity. But once they realize that Christianity is a movement that is growing too big and it's growing too fast for them to really stop, they have to kind of do a 180 and start to embrace it so that their subjects, can, have the will to follow them, because they too are embracing Christianity. They are partners in this kind of a thing, right? So they kind of flip the script really quick once they realize that they're not going to be able to overcome the power of Christianity for the loyalty of the people. It's like, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. So in the later stages of the Pax Romana and the Roman Empire, those Roman governments embrace Christianity. And the main reason for that is because their people embrace Christianity also. So in an attempt to kind of remain in power and keep the people under control, that's a big part of this discussion about Christianity and the Roman Empire. So as far as other achievements go, I know we've touched on the idea of road system before, and we've talked about how important they are. But just to reiterate, roads are critical for the movement of goods. And this kind of brings about a wealthy and prosperous economy, but also they're essential for communication, which assists effective government. Okay, with an empire that is so large, communication is vital to coordinating governance of such a large area. So, without effective communication, government of such a large territory becomes very difficult, and the sophisticated and very, very well built road system that is established throughout the Roman Empire is critical to facilitating that communication that is so important for effective government. The other thing that's going to pop up here is, and it's worth mentioning just to at least get it in your notes, this is the time when we start seeing gladiator contests at Colosseum. Gladiator contests, for those of you that may not be familiar, are a form of entertainment where it's basically UFC with weapons, is the best way to put it. And these are strictly for entertainment. So this is like fight to the death stuff. For the purposes of entertaining people. That's really it. A lot of times, the people that were used in gladiator contests are former slaves or prisoners of war, and they're forced to kind of participate in these gladiator contests in the Colosseum. And it's like I said, it's purely for the entertainment of the masses. That's it. So it's like a morale boost. This is these are like every single one of these is like Super Bowl Sunday. People get together and watch and celebrate, and it's kind of a cultural outing for the people of the Roman Empire. So in today's classwork, for example, you will see some footage of what the Colosseum looked like, and that footage is from a movie some of you may have seen before called Gladiator. So you'll see the Colosseum, you'll see a reenactment of a gladiator fight in that Colosseum for the purposes of entertainment.